They married on October 29th, 1949, 70 years ago. When they married, he was 1 month shy of 22, and she a very young, sweet 16 of only 2 months. At the outbreak of the Korean conflict in June of 1950, he re-enlisted and joined the Navy, serving from 1950 to 1952 aboard the USS Bradford DD-446, a Fletcher-class destroyer. He manned the forward cannon and led the recon team. He was trained in the early program that eventually became the Navy SEALs, and for his service he was awarded the World War II Victory Medal, a Triple Star Korean Service Ribbon, a China Service Medal, a Korean Victory Medal, and the United Nations Service Medal. Daddy was a natural-born leader. In fact, they both were. People were drawn to them for friendship and counsel. Every job he held was one of some degree of authority over others. Why? Because he was born for that. A man who could be trusted with the guidance of others. He was a man God's favor rested upon, and my daddy considered that favor and the authority afforded to him as the most sacred trust of his life. One to be valued, one to be protected. And she was entrusted with forming young minds through Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Sunday school. He served as a minister and pastor, and she served as a pastor's wife. For y'all here today, if you'd ever heard Daddy preach, he was fiery, he was passionate, but he was gentle. He was never coercive. He just pointed to the truth and let you decide for yourself. When my parents married, a lot of people don't know this, my mother dropped out of school because when she told her parents that Mom and Dad wanted to get married, they said, well, why wait? That school thing isn't going to help you any. They were old school, not very educated. She dropped out of school. One of the most precious accomplishments to her was that she went back to school. And she went back in her late 40s and early 50s and got her GED, began to take classes. She taught. She was a lifelong learner. But of all my mother ever accomplished, the greatest thing was that she met Jesus first. And when she met Jesus, through her, she introduced my daddy to Jesus, and that changed the trajectory of our entire family. She was the one to first see Jesus in this life, and she was the one to first see Jesus in death. I have a funny story I want to tell you about Mom. Some years before she died, she was very ill, and her diabetes, she had diabetes, and her sugar tanked. It went to 34, and she collapsed. And when they took her to the hospital, she was laying in the emergency room on the gurney, and one of the pastors at the time, the church we attended, went to see her. And he said, he walked in, and she was very peaceful. He said, almost too peaceful, laying there with her head back. And he said, Sister Holcomb, I've come to pray with you. I hope that's all right. And she said, well, of course, Pastor Russell, of course it's all right. He said she had her head kind of up, and he said, so just relax, I'll just pray. He said, Father God, today I would like to bring to your remembrance Evelyn Holcomb. He said her head flew up, and she said, excuse me, Pastor Russell. The Lord knows me by Joanne. I could have ordered the parents that I could ever have imagined in my wildest dreams. I could never, ever have ever come close to the parents I had. And I feel certain y'all feel the same way. in our family are people of earth. They're pioneering people. Our parents were cut from a different cloth. Our grandmother was cut from a different cloth. For a woman to raise her children during the time she did, with the little to no help that she had, and every one of them turn out to be the people they were and are, is the legacy of coming from good stock. My daddy was so proud of that. So proud of that. A few months back, Dad used to always like to go to McDonald's for breakfast. And now he quit driving last year because he forgot how to get there and how to get home.
That's a good reason.
But he loved to go to McDonald's with fellow veterans and friends he had made. And the lady that was there, she always thought my daddy was special out of all the group, you know. Dad, they all wore their veterans hats and all of that stuff. And so Miss Judy, as we affectionately call her, would wait on my daddy, and he always liked a sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddle, 2 coffees. He'd have 1 coffee, and then he'd always want a refill. Well, he never had to ask for the second refill. She was right there. And sometime last year, he came home from breakfast one day. He was kind of quiet. And a couple hours later, he said, "Hey, Tone, can you come in here and talk to me a minute? I've got something I need to ask you." So anytime my dad did that, I was like, "What, Dad?" I sat down and he said, "You know, I got something bothering me a little bit, and I want you to help me flesh it out." I said, "Okay." He said, "Judy asked me to come to dinner." I said, well, that's okay. You like Judy?" He said, "I do like Judy, I do." I said, "Well, she's probably just wants to make you dinner." He said, "Yeah, she probably just does want to make me dinner, but I can't do it. I don't think I can do it." I said, "Well, why can't you do it?" And he paused for a long time and he said, "Because I don't want her to get the wrong impression, even if it's just dinner. There was ever only one woman for me. And in all my life, she was the only one. And I'm still married to her. And I will be till the day I go and see her again." That's how they felt about each other. And we laughed about it, and he thought, you know, that he would trust me with that. It was like a son coming to his mother on Mass Day saying, "Hey, Mom, what do you think about this?" He would never want anyone to think in any way that there was ever any possibility of even dinner, because he was still married to my mom, and she'd been gone 7 years. I wanted to share these things because they're important. It's important to remember, not just on a page or whatever, but the 3-dimensional people that we are. And what I can write about them is not nearly as good as what you already know about them. But when my mother died, she wanted to be cremated, and Dad made me promise, no matter what happened, her ashes sat in his room where he could see them. He had the TV in front, they sat up there, and then there were 2 pictures of them that are side by side on the wall. And he spent a lot of time looking at her urn, at her picture. And he said, "I want you to put us together when I die. I want you to take my ashes, and I want you to take her ashes. And I want you to put them together." And I, of course, at first I thought he meant 2 urns connected, 2 separate enclosures inside the same container. He didn't. He said, "I want to make sure you understand me. I want you to take her ashes, and I want you to take my ashes, and And I want you to mix them all together so that it's one group of ashes, because that's how we live. And that's how we'll live forever, as one. And I want you to put them together. And I want you to take us home and put us by Mom and Dad, where I used to run with my dog Spunk. And then we'll be home. So that's why we're here today. And I'm so grateful that you're here too, because we do have a legacy, and we do come from good stock. And other than my salvation, there's nothing that matters to me more than that. And that you would come all this way. And you would come all this way. You will never know what that means to me and what that would have meant to them. Going home, going home, I'm a-going home, quiet like some still day, I'm a-going home. It's not far, just close by, through an open door, work all done, cares laid by, gonna fear no more. His family's there, expecting me, loved ones waiting too, lots of folks gathered there, all the friends I knew. The morning star will light the way, restless dreams all done, shadows gone, the break of day, my true life just begun. There's no break, there ain't no end, there's just a living on, wide awake with a smile, going on and on. Now I'm a-going home. Thank you, God. Thank you for all of the gifts and the treasures you placed in us. Thank you that my parents' lives brought glory in some way to you. And thank you that they've instilled in me a love for things that pertain to you and what's important to you. Lord, would you bless our family as you always have done? Would you multiply our influence? And would you stretch our resources beyond our capability to use them? Would you take our legacy that you have deposited in us and use it for your kingdom and for your glory? I give you praise and I give you thanks this day, for dust we are, and dust we shall return. But the true selves come to you. We rest in that promise, Lord God. And in your name, Jesus. Amen.
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 I was going to do the family eulogy of who's who. Y'all already know who you are. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here with me.